Hello everyone, how are you? As you can see, I'm in the Christmassy festive mood today with my ears, which I bought recently on holiday. Anyway, I just wanted to say welcome to the Christmas edition of Real PR with me, Fiona Scott. We're fast approaching a whole year of doing Real PR. Where has that time gone? And how better to mark this first year than welcoming my friend and my client, Chris Hunt Skelley MBE, who's going to talk to us about his last year and going to share and spill the beans around what it's like to take part in our Paralympics. So please, everyone, hands together, even though we can't see and hear you, for Chris Hunt Skelley MBE.
Hello.
Hi, Chris.
Hello. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you? I'm waving to you from my little room in Wiltshire to your little room in Wiltshire.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's well and getting ready for Christmas. It's a very exciting time, and yeah, just glad to be on your show, Fiona.
Oh, right then, Chris. Let's do a Chris review of the year. Take me back to the beginning of 2024 and just take us through what the year's been like for you, Chris.
That's a great question. It's been one of a roller coaster of years, as Ronan Keaton would say. It's been one of the. I think I've said this quite a few times in my talk. It's been one of the toughest times of my life. Sorry, where there's been so many emotions in it. There's been so many questions of who I am as a person, but also questioning my place here. So there's been a lot of struggles with mental health. There's been a lot of success. We've obviously taken another medal in the Paralympics, in my third Paralympics, and yeah, it's been a really, really tough year.
But as I often remind you, Chris, it's not untrue to say that in the UK you are among something like the top 2 or 3 judo competitors we have ever had. That's right, isn't it?
Maybe. I think I'm not really sure on that bit, but I've been very lucky to be able to represent my country at such a high level for the last 12 years. I've been to 3 Paralympic Games. I've medalled at 2, won 1. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey. If you said to kind of my younger self that I would be, all them statistics against my name, I'd think I'd bite your hand off. As I say, my journey throughout my whole life has been one of the ones where I've had a lot of setbacks. I've had to be able to kind of overcome stuff and become stronger. So yeah, it's just been another. 2024 has been no different, and yeah, it's been really, really tough.
Okay, let's just explain to people who don't know you, because we are taking a lot for granted. We know each other well. Chris, what is your condition with your visual impairment? Tell people what it is and how it affects you.
So my condition is ocular tennis albinism. I was diagnosed very, very late in life with it. I've had it all my life. Explained a lot of kind of answers to what I was struggling with as a kid, but now kind of understanding who I am now. And basically it means I'm affected by the light. So that's why I'm wearing sunglasses even in the light now. If I go outside with these on, I'd have to have a pair a sun kind of a cap on to protect my eyes from the top as well. But mostly I have contact lenses and sunglasses as well. So if you see me out and about and you haven't got your sunglasses on, because I wear really, 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 really dark contact lenses. And I also wear a pair of sunglasses just to protect my eyes from the light. So yeah, it's kind of, that's in my condition in a nutshell. I also do struggle with acuity, and kind of I struggle with kind of seeing stuff. So I have to have like my magnifying glass, I have to my iPads and my iPhone all kind of made accessible. So yeah, that's kind of my condition in a nutshell, really. And I kind of have to adapt to the situation that usually is put in front of me and be able to kind of see stuff. So yeah, it's tough, but I get around and I live the best life.
I so know you do. You're so inspirational, and the way you live so well, and it just inspires everyone you meet. But I wanted to ask you, Chris, does it affect your hearing as well?
So that's no one's really sure where my hearing's connected with that. My hearing I've had since birth as well. They kind of, the official name we call it is sensory auditory processing problem, which they're kind of given a name for it, but they don't know where it's come from and how it's affected. But so I wear hearing aids off Phonak, which are a fantastic sponsor to me, and they really help me to be able to kind of hear people and hear in a really tough situation if it's really crowded. So yeah, very lucky to be kind of have these hearing aids. Oh, sorry. 2 seconds.
That's all right. That's okay.
Sorry, I'm glad
That's
this is
fine.
recorded. 2 seconds. 2 seconds.
That's all right. Don't worry. So I'm going to keep going, talking to people whilst Chris goes and answers the door and sorts out his lovely dog. He has a therapy dog called Milo, who is just gorgeous, believe me. But for those of you who don't know, Chris went to the Paralympics and competed in the para judo, and he won the bronze medal this time. He competed in an amazing match against the guy who went on to win the gold. And I don't know if you know, but a judo match is about 4 minutes and then it goes into extra time. And Chris fought with that guy for almost 10 minutes. It was amazing.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Don't worry.
The wife forgot to... well, Louise forgot to... She went out thinking she had her car keys and she realised she didn't. So I had to go and give her car keys. Anyway, so where was I?
Well, I thought what we'll do, I talked about the beginning of the year. I've now watched you out there explained what you did at the Paralympics. So, yeah, it was a tough year. What can you share with us about what made it tough at the beginning and the mid part of the year, Chris?
Well, really. So no, every year we have a tough, because we have a bit of Christmas break off. Judo's not really an off season, so you're always training. And like any year, you start off going up to Kendal and Lake Districts to kind of acclimatise you back to training full time. And then we went to Georgia for about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks to train out there because they have a fantastic judo system out there, so some really good judokas, and we live out there. We have some really good friends out there. And then I had my first kind of sighted competition. So with judo, because there's not a lot of vision impaired competitions, we get our kind of competition practice at sighted events. And I entered myself for the Belgium Open, which is a very prestigious event in the site. A lot of famous Olympians have won that and then moved on to winning the Olympics. So it's only just a little bit of a test for me because it is very hard fighting sighted people. And then suddenly I lost all my fights there, but that's not what it's for. It's practice competition. It's practice to get nervous. It's, just to practice being in a competition environment. And then that led quite nicely into Germany, where everything seems to take a bit of a downhill spiral. Before to be able to fight in Paralympics, you have to get what we call classified. So you have to go tell you about your condition, you have to do sight tests, you have to do all sort of kind of explain about your condition and how it affects you, and etc. etc. I've been classified for the last 12 years, and I've been classified for 2 years under the new system. So the new system is J1 and J2. And then they've made the weight categories, combined them together. So I also fight at the plus 90 category. So I got classified in 2022 to be able to start qualification in the September. Again, we had a little bit of a kind of a tough time there, but we got it kind of smoothed out, which I thought, and got classified under the new rules for Paralympic Judo. I went to Germany thinking I'd sail through classification because I'd already been classified, etc. It was just a tick box exercise. However, due to classifiers not really understanding their job and maybe what their kind of purpose was, they wanted more information on my condition, even though I had all the good information I had and everything like that. We had a really good full folder of it, but they still wanted more information, which for me, I live with what we call PTSD. When I was a teenager, I went through some really tough times with the NHS and the way they treated me. I was admitted to a psychiatric ward because they think I was making it up in my own head. Doctors weren't believing me, even though all the data was showing that I did have an eye condition, but no one knew what it was. But until I went to America where I got a kind of partial diagnosis, and then coming back here and meeting the amazing Professor Nicolaides at Moorfield Eye Hospital, he kind of said, yeah, you've got this condition, you've lived with it your whole life. But to kind of have that in the back of my mind, that's a trauma in my own head. Obviously, the classifiers didn't set out to set off my PTSD, but it kind of it did. It brought back a whole lot of memories. It basically sent me into a bit of a spiral in my own head. I'm very open with how it affected me. When I was a kid, I had a lot of suicidal thoughts through that initial trauma. Not wanting to be here, wanting to kind of disappear, thinking how I could take my own life. And then that kind of arisen then memories and pulled off a band-aid which I thought was healed. Sadly, it kind of all fled back. I didn't really eat, I didn't really drink, and my wife had to pick up the pieces. And then it's very hard because you with living with these conditions, you have to almost kind of live with it, but then when people question it, it kind of takes you down quite hard. So knowing that, I had to go and meet Professor Nicolaides again. I was in a lot of issues. I even questioned if I had a disability, and Louise was trying to say, yes, you have a disability. And when I saw Professor Nicolaides, he almost, if he had a wet fish he could slap me with, I think he would have slapped me with it, because he was really, really, really kind of obvious. It's like, you've got it, like there's so much data to prove it, and and it is very rare the way it's made up in me, but I still have it. And if you take a picture of the back of my eye, you can see my retina and all that have the symptoms of ocular tennis albinism. However, it's still very hard to admit to yourself. And there's that little man. Everyone has that little person in their own head, little man or little woman in their own head, that eats away at them every day. And that's anxiety, and that's depression for you. And sadly, it really hit me very hard, to the extent where I did want to not be here anymore. And to the extent where Louise had to kind of talk me through stuff. And, I openly admitted that I didn't want to be here anymore, which is very hard to admit to your wife, because she's love of your life, and we've got a wonderful house, we've got a wonderful life together. But admitting that I didn't want to be here anymore was the most hardest thing I've ever had to do. But I've had amazing support around my life. I've been in counselling now on and off for 2 years, and they helped me through this really tough period. And that led again after Germany. I had to go back into training, full-time training. I had to be around the talking of Paris and me preparing for myself for Paris. And then that's very hard, because you're trying to work your bottom off and get yourself in the best shape. You've got that kind of underlying feeling, if I'm even going to make it to Paris, and all these feelings as well of not wanting to be here, and fighting the depression, the PTSD, the not really sleeping that well, not eating that well, like all that kind of adds up after a while. And then it leads into Turkey, which we thought we had all our eggs in one basket, ready to kind of go and smash it. And then the classifiers weren't happy again with the information they had. They wanted more information and more kind of clearing up of the situation, even though that the IBSA and IPC all agreed that I should have been classified and I should have been able to fight. No one was taking responsibility of their actions. And it's hard to do, because it's out of my control. When they let me to fight, I can fight really well, but sometimes that's the hard bit about it.
I just think people listening in or watching this, Chris, will be thinking that, and probably don't know that, elite athletes with disabilities have to keep proving they've actually got these disabilities. Because when you were telling me about it and we were discussing it at the time, it felt like they were questioning whether or not you had a visual impairment.
Yeah, that's what classification sadly is. They have to question everything. So they have to make it a fair environment for people to fight in. And I do understand the process, and I kind of sort of respect the process. But I think the process, especially in IBSA, was maybe handled wrong. I think the way they kind of brought it on and the way they kind of executed it was not in the right way. And I think a lot of athletes, mental health and kind of, they're treated as a bit of a number and not actually as a human. And that's something I want to change and have a bit of beating my bonnet about, and I'm going to carry on taking this to the highest level, so other athletes don't have to question who they are and themselves as a person. But again, the Turkey caused more stress. I think I handled it a bit better in Turkey because I had amazing support of counselling and Andrew, my sports psych, and obviously Louise, my wife, and I managed to kind of keep training. But with the stress of stuff, you still have to train through things. I have to prepare myself like I'm going to Paris. And, going into the last event of the qualification year and last event before Paris, everything was on the line. Like, I was qualified, but I didn't know if I was going to classify. So, sadly, I picked up a knee injury leading into Georgia because of the stress it put me under, and I was breaking down most sessions. My coach, Ian Johns, had to kind of pick me up off the floor and get me on the mat and get training ready to hit Georgia as if we were fighting. And I think an annoying thing about Georgia, as soon as I got to Georgia, there's that thing of like, this might be the last time I step on into the VI world, and it hurt me. It hurt me a lot. Like, you also have to prepare yourself for the worst, and it was the most simplest processes because what the meetings that happened before, there was kind of, they all agreed that I should be fighting. They all agreed that I should be in the system, but no one would kind of take responsibility. It's a bit like that meme you see on Spider-Man. Everyone is pointing at different Spider-Man, and like no one was taking responsibility. And that's hard for me because I'm like, listen, you're playing with my life here, you're playing with my mental health. And it took a long time for me to kind of understand that and come to terms with that. And in Georgia, they did sail through. Took half an hour. They were like, yeah, tick box, tick box, tick box. We might need just a colour photo, but if you can't get a colour photo back your eye, not a problem. You should be fine to be classified again in 2 years. And I just sat there and I just said, you put me through all that to agree that I should be fighting. And everyone agreed that there was no disagreement that I should be fighting. But yet you put me through that, and you put my mental health through that, you put my wife through that, you put my family through that, my friends through that, and you just sell me through like no business. Like, there was such questions about looking through my eye, because with my Bell's reflex, which is one of my conditions, means they can't actually have a proper look at my eye, because as soon as light hits my eye, it goes to the back of my head. That's why I wear sunglasses right now. And to kind of have someone go, yeah, you can put drops behind your lenses, and they looked at it, and as soon as they looked in my eye and they could see my eye, they're like, yeah, you're classifiable, and it's just tick a box. I was like, you put me through 3 months of hell, unearthing stuff that I thought was healed, and my PTSD, my depression all came flooding back to me like a tsunami. And I was quite angry and frustrated about that. And there's other athletes who weren't as lucky as me with the support I had. Like some of my, the guy who beat me in Rio for bronze, Sastre. He said he weren't able to fight in Paris, even though he was classifiable. For some reason, they couldn't agree why he was able to fight. And I know personally he's not doing that well. I think he's still very struggling with his mental health, and I think things need to change, because these athletes that compete in the Paralympics are phenomenal athletes. They deserve to be there, and they deserve to be able to prove themselves. And I think the process needs to be about the athlete and not treated as a number. They need to be treated as a person. And
so let's just recap then, Chris. Let's just recap for the benefit of people listening in. One of the main things they wanted, because the knock-on effect of this was you and I working together and publicity opportunities that came up that you were really pushing yourself to do or not doing because you didn't feel like it. You didn't feel up to it. That was a knock-on effect, because I was in your team now, whereas I wasn't when you were in Tokyo. So there was a knock-on effect to us, wasn't there?
Yeah, so that's another thing as well. Like, because of leading Paris, there's a lot of opportunities I just didn't want to do. I didn't feel comfortable doing, knowing that might not even step on the mat. So, Fiona did an amazing job managing the PR side and the kind of, we only did the bare minimum that I had to do, which I was contracted to do, because I also was working with Aldi and I was contracted to do certain things. So we kind of really went on a bare minimum sort of PR, because I didn't want to do it. I was just trying to, manage myself and manage my mental health right through that period. And, thanks to Fiona, you helped me through that, and you respected me and you respected what I was trying to do. But then after Georgia, then that's the real work, because me and my coach Ian Johns called it a Rocky montage. And that's when it started. I had to get myself back up to full fitness with my knee. I had to go to a fantastic place called Bisham Abbey, which is like a full-time rehab unit, and I went there for the week, and I really put the hard work in understanding what I needed to do to get myself back into that position. And and then obviously I worked with fantastic S&C coach Wayne Lakin, who got me in phenomenal shape, the strongest I've ever been in the gym. Because I'm not a gym, I don't like the gym, if I'm honest. I love conditioning circuits, I love doing the outdoors, I love doing judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but the gym's not my most favorite place to be in. And Wayne is a fantastic person himself, got me to love that and enjoyed the gym. And it's hard because I had to pick myself up from that again and get myself into that kind of fighting mentality. And I managed to do it. And we had a really good prep. We went to Japan for 3 weeks to train out there. And when we came back, and we went up to Kendal for a week to train up there. And then leading into Paris, where, I wanted to put a really good performance in. And it's hard because, I didn't have great competition prep. I didn't compete in the VI World since December. So I had to really just rely on my fitness, my kind of resilience in my own head to not actually give in and to kind of reframe it as a positive. A couple of months ago, I nearly wasn't going to step on the mat in Paris, and now I've got the opportunity to go and try and go and do the impossible, which was to go and win it, and then to even medal was a fantastic achievement.
And I'm thinking, during this whole time that you and I working together, we still kept you visible. We worked with your sponsors. Big up to all your sponsors. Yay, Aldi, all the others, who are so vital to people like you, Chris, aren't they, to pay the bills and keep things going. We did all of those things. So look, let's briefly give a shout out to your sponsors. Talk us through why sponsors are so important for people like you.
Yeah, sponsors are really important because obviously, UK sport and national also do fund. You get APAs, but they're not like they're still really good, and you still get really good kind of, you'll be able to live, but you kind of you have to find kind of private sponsors, because sometimes you have to maybe have a little bit more money, so you have to go train a little bit more, you might have to go and do some more training in different countries, and sometimes the APA might not cover that, and you might have to kind of cover with a little bit of APA but not cover with private sponsors. So the sponsors are really important because they help you to kind of just be able to get out there and train a little bit more that you need, them extra percentages that you need to do, that then private sponsors kind of help with, because I've had some incredible ones, Imagine Cruising, United, Rise Energy, Phonak for sponsoring hearing aids. Like, so many people have sponsored me and kind of been on this journey with me as well, to kind of help me out there and to kind of be able to put the best performance I can, because it's, to be a full-time athlete, it's a 24-hour job. So when I finish training, I'd have to come home, recover, make sure I'm in a great place, have my massages, and then go off and maybe do Brazilian jiu-jitsu or wrestling. Like, I'd be kind of constantly trying to do full-time training, because you don't turn off. Like, I'm really committed to my sport, and you don't have the switch off button. You're constantly thinking. Even if I come home at weekends, I maybe do some extra stuff in the garden, making sure I'm really ready to go in Paris. So having them private sponsors be able to do that is really important.
Yeah, and also you had extra responsibilities because you were one of the Paralympic ambassadors, and you were also one of Aldi's Paralympic ambassadors as well. And Aldi were great in starting. You started to educate them around something you also have, which is fairly recent. Chris recently diagnosed, is you're a celiac, aren't you? So it affected your diet, and diet's really important when you're an elite athlete. So talk us through that.
Yeah, so celiac disease was diagnosed very late in my life. So with celiac disease, again, it can just happen quite late. So for me, when I was hit my 30s, I really started to get quite ill, and they tested me for everything like cancer and everything like that, Crohn's, everything like that. They really did kind of test everything, and the thing it came back with was celiac disease, which is a very interesting one, because you kind of, it's only just gluten, but you don't realise how careful you have to be. It's like cross-contamination, it's understanding that you have to kind of carry all the food with you, because certain countries that I go to, especially with judo, don't see it as a real condition, if I'm honest. They just think it's like, they don't take it seriously, which for me, if I eat a little bit of gluten, I'll be really ill. Like, I'm on the toilet, I'm either sick in it or other kind of areas that might not be very nice to talk about. And you know, it got to a really bad stage. Actually, when I kind of found a diagnosis, it was like overnight I felt better. You know what I mean? It was like an instant change in my health. And it was such a really good thing to kind of realise that I had. But then it was a really tough thing about how can I change my diet? I've got to take all the food with me. So when I packed my stuff, I packed my training gear, then I have to take an extra bag because I have to take food with me, because some of them countries don't have a lot of gluten-free. So I take my own bread, I have to take my own cereal, I have to take all that sort of stuff. So it was trying to manage everything and then manage your packing, because you only get a certain amount of weight limit and everything like that. So it is really, really tough to manage, as well as trying to train. But I got myself into a really good position, and I had some really good help from family members and Celiac UK, who kind of gave me tips, because if you follow their Instagram, they're always giving tips on how to live with it. So I kind of managed it myself and learned to live with it, and now I kind of, yeah, I'm very good living with it. It's just very sad to see that actually not a lot of places still in Britain take it that seriously.
Oh no.
And you have to be really careful where you eat. Like, I think we walked around London yesterday, trying to look for somewhere to eat, and because there's not many places that did it. And you know, luckily I found a Prezzo, which is very good, and they're celiac friendly. But other kind of independent chains don't have the money to do that, so it is very difficult for me to eat, and you have to be really careful where you do. So yeah, it takes a lot out of you.
And you, I know I introduced you to one of my other clients who specialise in top 14 allergens, and not including them, Creative Nature, and you have been eating some of their stuff, haven't you, over the last year?
Their stuff is amazing. It's really good to kind of know them guys, and hopefully we can keep working together and get the word out there, because I think, you know, it's so important we can help others, because I think my biggest thing is about helping people and you know, trying to get the word out there if we can do that, and trying to show the world that these are really serious conditions that need to be taken seriously. And more so now, there's more allergies seem to be found, and more people seem to have it. It's like celiac disease is like one in 100 people have it. So it's a very common disease, but a lot of people don't get themselves tested. A lot of people just live with it and make themselves ill, and it can cause a lot of knock-on effects, which I didn't realise, of further issues with if you don't take this seriously. So I think it's really important that we know what Creative Nature is doing and myself are doing, is trying to get the word out there with Celiac UK about how serious conditions can be.
And also, you know, one big problem for you is you've got a bit of a thing about pork pies, haven't you, Chris?
Yeah, so there's a funny story. It's after Tokyo. I had these famous line, which seems to haunt me everywhere I go, about get the pork pies and I'm coming home, Louise. And literally, but I was inundated with pastries, which was amazing for me, but maybe caused an onset of celiac disease, I don't know. And you know, it's hard because I do miss the pastry. I can't go into Greggs anymore. I've not had a Greggs in a few years, because Greggs, if you're watching this, listen, that you should be doing more gluten-free food, and companies should be making it easier for people to eat if they have an intolerance, and not just leave them out. Like, you know, vegan and vegetarianism is fantastically catered for, but the lactose intolerant and the kind of gluten side is not really touched upon. And I think more companies, more the bigger chains, can do this quite easily and have the money to do it, and they seem not to. So I think that's my next kind of thing as well. I've got so many things I want to do now, and
Cool.
be able to kind of, you know, do that. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to move forward now. So we're in August, and what people listening and watching this won't know, Chris, is that you and I agreed that you would go blackout, didn't we?
Yeah.
From a sort of mid-August, you go blackout, even though we had some amazing media opportunities. You went blackout, and I want you to just walk us through when you got, I think you did the Eurotunnel, when you got on the train to go to Paris. What was it like?
So actually, we flew there. We got the Eurotunnel back.
Oh, did you?
But, the reason we do a media blackout for me is because I know the media opportunities are brilliant, and I'm very grateful to what Fiona can get me. When you come to the important moment of stepping on the mat, you need to be fully focused. You don't need to be worried about doing interviews. You don't need to be worried about what time I need to do this, what time I need to do that. And I had a very honest conversation with Fiona, who was amazing. And I said, listen, this is what I always do before I'm very quiet. I like to get in the moment, get in my head, make sure I'm ready to kind of put the best performance on. And you very kindly helped me do that, and you kind of very turned away some amazing opportunities. But to be at that level, you have to make the tough choices. You have to make the hard choices and the hard decisions. And yeah, to be able to step on that plane in Paris is amazing, because it's all the hard work, especially this year and what I went through. to go as a into my third Paralympic Games, and I'm going to try and go and do the double gold medalist is a fantastic opportunity for going to go and have a crack at, because yeah, I didn't compete, but when it comes to Paralympics, anything can happen. And I knew I put the hard work in. This has been a 12-year journey, not just the 3 months leading into it. This has been a 12-year journey to get to the position of being very experienced in this moment, to understand what I have to do to be the best version of myself. So I knew that I was in a very good position. Even though I hadn't competed, I knew I can go and do it because I've done it before. And there was that opportunity of doing a different weight category, which is not really been done before since the great Simon Jackson. So it's not been done in 25 years. I really wanted to go and try and achieve it. And stepping into that village as well is amazing. And a lot of people gave a bad press to the Paris village. I actually really enjoyed it, and I thought the food is all right. It's just mass catering. But again, talking about being celiac disease, it's you have to be really careful what you eat as well, because if you have a bit of gluten in there, you're then sat on the toilet, or you're not getting them little percentages that will get you ready for the day. So again, I did have a pack maybe on the food and everything, but I'd rather be over prepared than under prepared. So got a bit of grief for the teammates for doing that, but I have to be in the best version of myself. I have to do what's right for me. And I took all my own food, and actually in the end, for gluten free, it wasn't too bad. I still took my own stuff down to the food hall, but they did have some good options. But after a while, the food becomes the same, because you're only eating the same thing over and over again. And to be able to step into the village as well, and to kind of experience, because every 4 years, these amazing athletes that you don't really hear about, you only see every 4 years, which that's another thing we need to change as well. Come out the woodwork after not really have much publicity about Paralympics. Channel 4 did an amazing job, by the way. Absolutely amazing job publicising.
They were brilliant. They were
really,
brilliant.
really good. But we need to have more
Chris,
of a change.
Chris, we need to say we're a little bit biased about Channel 4 because your wife was a commentator, wasn't she,
exactly,
for wheelchair tennis? So we kind of hands up have to say that.
We have to say that, and we have to say. But Louise was working for Channel 4 as well. She's out there, so But every 4 years, these amazing athletes get together, and they all have amazing individual stories as well. What they have to overcome to step onto the mat, step onto the tennis court, step into the pool. They all have an amazing story to do, and to be a part of that, to be a part of one of the greatest teams, I personally think, Paralympics GB, is a huge honour. You know what I mean? It's a huge honour to represent them and to step in and see the guys. You get to know people throughout the years of being in the Paralympics, and it's nice seeing people. You only actually see them every 4 years because you're on in your own bubble of your world, of your own world. So yeah, it was nice to be in there, nice to see everyone. But then the kind of tunnel comes out, and you have to go, right, I need to stay focused, and because it's so hard, because Paralympics GB do so well, so I had to unfollow a lot of people. I unfollowed Paralympics GB, I unfollowed Channel 4, because all these medal things were popping up, and then that's when that's when the anxiety creeps out. So, oh, can you do this? Can you always get a medal? Can you go and win it? And I had to unfollow a lot of people. I had to kind of stop looking at results and everything like that, and not really go on social media, and just stay in my own little bubble with my teammates preparing, because we're usually at the start of the Paralympics, but for the first time in my kind of career, we were at the back end of the competition. So we were in the village, all these people getting gold medals, bronze medals, silver medals, amazing medals, and I was sat there and you go, I hope I can do that performance. I really can. So that's when you have to become quite in the zone, ready to go.
And also, for you, Chris, your competition was all on one day, wasn't it?
Exactly, and it's not like it's all in one day, and it's not kind of over a few days. It's all in one day, so you could be 1-0, you could be out after one fight, and that's the brutality of judo. And and that's what you have to also understand, that sometimes we don't have several opportunities to go and get a medal. We don't have different categories we can go and possibly get a medal. You have got 1-on-1 chance only. So for me to be able to come away with 2 medals from 2 different games is incredible, because judo is I personally think it's one of the hardest sports in the Paralympics to win a medal in, because you might be having an amazing day, but that person opposite you might be having a better day. And sadly in Paris, that was the kind of thing for me. Like that the Bodok Batty, the guy you were facing in the semi-final, was just sadly better than me. But the amazing experience was the French lad first. So finding the French lad first in France, was amazing. The crowd, the people stomping their feet. I could hear that. So I take my hearing aids out, try and not hear anything, but I could hear the crowd. I tell you that 10,000 people. I think anyone could hear that. and it was absolutely ridiculous. And you could feel the vibrations, you could feel the tension. The French guy was on fire, like he was really wanted to kind of come after me, and luckily I dispatched him quite quickly. And then that's when the semi-final happened, and that's where, you know, really, really tough fight for nearly 10 minutes lasted. And, you know, personally, I think I was leading the fight and I was dominating the fight, and then that's judo, he caught me. And that's one of the hardest things to kind of approach, because you could be leading the fight and controlling the fight beautifully, but then that one person has a split second of brilliance and it's ended. And that's sadly what happened with me. And again, it's that kind of, you have to pick yourself back up off the floor, which I've done my whole life. I've done every time I've had to face them, I have to pick myself up. When I dislocated my hip really badly, when I first started out, and I had to pick myself back up and got my first world medal from it, you know, so I knew I could go and do it. But it's just that waiting around, and, you know, that little anxiety is kicking in, and the guy who I was facing is fantastic judoka, and, you know, but I'm not going to be horrible here, but, you know, I know I can beat him. I know I'm one of the best people in the world in my category, but on that day, anything can happen, and that's when the anxiety creeps in. That's when you go, oh, can I do that? Can I go actually win go and win my medal and win the bronze medal? But luckily, I have a really good team around me. Louise, obviously, I got to see Louise in the break. I just wanted to see Louise because I know she can say the right things to me. I didn't realise she was mic'd up, though. So she had to tell me she was mic'd up because she was being filmed all day, which I didn't realise either, because I'm so cut off from everything. Louise tells me the bare minimum. You know what I mean? The bare minimum she tells me. So, you know, but she knows what to say to me. To be fair, though, I wasn't really upset. I knew I couldn't have done any more. So I think I wasn't really crying or anything, because I knew I couldn't do any more. So just reset myself with Louise. We have a great physio called John Prescott, not the MP. He reset me. I spoke to my coach, Ian Johns, and Chris Barry, the performance analysis guy, Ben Urban, who's also a support coach. They all just got around me and picked me back up, you know, and my amazing training partner, Jack Hodgson, you know, and it's more difficult for him because he was my competitor to get to Paris. And sadly, I out-qualified him. But he was there for me, and he's a brother to me and always will be, and he got me up for the last fight in Paris. And, you know, obviously, you know you can beat this person, but this is judo and anything can happen. But, you know, knowing that I've done the work and I know what I had to do, I just went out and performed. And there's a special moment, actually, which Louise asked me in the interview, why was I smiling? And I think the smiling was because of the journey I've been to get to that. I didn't even think I'd ever step on a mat again, let alone get a medal at the Paralympics. And to be able to do it despite what was put against me, and I did it how I wanted to end it was perfect.
And I was watching you, sadly, from a distance, because I couldn't actually come because I'd lost my passport, which was awful. That was my own mini trauma. But I watched you from a distance on that bronze medal match, and I think there was a moment you could see it in your face where you thought, I've got you now. And you were holding him, weren't you? You were holding him for that count.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So it's horrible, but especially that one, the maneuver I use on him, the kind of what we call sangaku, like a leg triangle from the top. I knew when I sink it in and I lock my legs off, it's done. And I knew I just had to get him over and I had to hold him down. But I'm not known for the flashiness. I'm not known for the throwing. I've always been known for the kind of groundwork specialist, to kind of take people out on the ground. And to be able to finish that moment like that, for me, was really special, because that was something I've worked on my whole career. It's something I've relied on. And to finish it that way was just lovely. And to be able to have that smile on my face, and to kind of know that I've done it for my coach, I've done it for my family, my friends, but more importantly, my wife, who stood by me, and my mum. You know, my mum, who's been there since day one as well. Like, she gave birth to me and she kind of got me through them tough times. To be able to, for my wife and my mum, the two most important ladies in my life, was the most special moment of my life. And you know, and with the Tokyo thing as well, I won it, but I couldn't celebrate with anyone, because I celebrated with my coach, my teammates, which was amazing, because I love them guys, like family to me. But the person I wanted to hug and kiss was Louise. But sadly, I wanted to get the opportunity because of COVID. However, that's why I wanted to maybe carry on to Paris, to have that moment where I come off the mat and just, you know, hug my coach. He throw me over his shoulder. I get up and just go and hug Louise, because she's the one who has supported me on this journey. She's the one who has helped me understand what it takes to be an elite athlete. She gets it. She understands her hard choices. She's had to do many of her family occasions by herself because I've had to make the hard choices and be selfish, and to be able to do it for her, because I say this many times in my talks, I don't think I'd be as successful without Mina. I think she was a maybe missing ingredient in my life to help me be successful, and that's I just feel very lucky to be able to have her in my life, to hug her like that, especially because of what I said to you earlier, when I didn't want to be here anymore, and I have to admit that to my wife. That was for her, like to say I wanted to leave her. And I've just got married to the love of my life. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And to say, this is why, this is all the crying and everything, that's for you, was the most special moment in my life.
And also, you didn't know, because I'd known earlier, because Louise and I had been communicating the whole time, that she was going to be there when you got off the mat, and that was all going to be recorded. And it went quite viral, didn't it? Channel 4 did a really nice, loved up piece with the two of you. And that's my favourite thing. Apart from that, I've got a shot of you and your face with your tongue out holding that guy down. I love that shot, because that's the moment when you knew you got him. And then you and Louise hugging afterwards, and you still talked about pork pies, Chris.
Yeah, it's a miracle love. She knows that miracle love in my life is my pork pies, and and I think that's another thing. To have your wife do your last interview was very, one of my last interviews was really tough, because she gets it. She got it. She understood what I went through. And to be fair, I was like, when I saw it, I was like, oh God, who set this up? Because they just know they're going to get pure emotion. Because I just wear a heart on my sleeve. I just wear that. I don't show anyone different. I'm just who I am, as you see on face value. Everyone knows when I'm upset. Everyone knows when I'm angry. Everyone knows when I'm happy. I just wear the heart on my sleeve, and I think the outpour of emotion was it was hard, because I've just done the impossible, which when you said to me when I sat in Germany that I could go and do that, and there's a lot of pressure on you as well, because you're also trying to perform for your sport. Like we get with funding, you have to perform to get the money for my sport. You have to get the medals, and that's just simple of it. That's always been like, and I wanted to do it for them guys where the sport that I also said quite commonly that saved my life. Judo has saved my life. And to be able to kind of do that for Judo was really cool as well. So kind of that pour out of emotion that I did towards Louise was just all that kind of adding up. And I could not explain to Mino's now getting upset as well because he's not getting mentioned, but for him as well.
That is just Chris, when you did that is classic. There is a brilliant Aldi video of you going around Aldi cracking the cheesiest jokes you could possibly crack. And when it's just hilarious. Anyone should go off and look for it. Chris and Aldi going around Aldi, and you just come up with these cheesy jokes, and you are just like that, aren't you, Chris? You are so funny to be with.
It's what you see. It's what you see with me. It's what you get. Like, I'm not going to change for anyone. It's who I am. Yes, I'm very soft, but I do love doing judo, and judo is a hard sport. I think, Louise says herself, it's a bit weird because you see this lovely person who's so kind and gentle, but then he's going to try and rip someone's head off. So it's a bit like, oh, bloody hell. But, that's just, I'm not anything different. I love the people I fight. It's really weird because we are a little bit like an extended family as well, as it like a. When you compete with each other, you do get on really well as well. I don't want to rip his head off afterwards. You congratulate him and go, mate, fair play. That's what sport is. You respect your opponent, you respect the referee, and you say, you were better than me on that day, and you shake hands and you kind of get over it. But to kind of do the interview with Louise, it's just amazing as well, because she knows what it took to me to even sit there and do the interview with her. And to have 2 medals in the house is quite scary now. I have to be responsible for them.
And after you got back, your neighbours all came out to greet you, didn't they?
Yeah, so it was really sweet actually, because it happened in Tokyo, which was really amazing as well. And then to come back and have it again was really special, because to have 2 medals around my neck and to call myself a 2-time Paralympic medalist is a really amazing thing to call myself, and and it's just amazing to give back to people as well. And I think I want people to hold the medal and feel the medal, because what if there's another little Chris out there, or another little Louise out there who want to become a Paralympian? They need to be able to feel what it feels like and have that kind of drive to go and do it. So it's a special moment to have 2 medals in the house. It doesn't get me it doesn't get out of me taking the bins out and doing the chores around the house. So yeah, it hasn't really changed in that sense. But...
I'm glad to hear that. Well, to everyone watching this, we're going to have a ton of stories around you coming up, aren't we, Chris? We're not going to spill the beans right now, but we've got plans. We got plans.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to do is end on is, right, if anyone wants to find you, Chris, who doesn't know you yet, want to find out more about you, where on the internet can they find you?
First of all, touch Fiona Scott. She's the main lady who can help me promote me. But I'm on Facebook, Instagram, X. I think I said Twitter then, but it's X. And LinkedIn. So I'm on all the social medias to help me kind of promote myself. So please find me on there. And also, if you do want any PR stuff, please contact the amazing Fiona Scott. She will help me promote myself. And yeah, I just want to, I think my chance now is to go and help people and help them change their lives. You know, I've got, I think, a lot of experience that's happened to me, and I think it's good for me to go and try and help others now.
Absolutely, and that's all in our plans. So yeah, get in touch. Chris also has his own website, so you can look that up there, don't you? Let's not forget the website.
I do have that. Thank you, Fiona.
Okay. And I'm going to tell you a little story now, and I hope it'll lead you into offering some inspirational words for people for 2025, Chris. So I've recently talked to someone that I will introduce you to in due course, who has 2 children. Him and his wife have passed on a gene to their children, but means that they both are hearing impaired. And one of them has just gone completely deaf, and he's devastated, and he's looking for ways to empower his daughter to live her best life. She's 10 years old. So, Chris, what words of inspiration can you offer to people like this young girl, and also to us all for 2025?
Oh, that's a great question. I think people can understand that if you do have a disability and you do listen to this, that it is your superpower. Although they have this kind of weird thing, it debilitates you and everything, it actually doesn't. Like, yes, you know, you might be hearing impaired or visually impaired, or, you know, you're a wheelchair user and that, but you can still learn and live your best life. Everything's adaptable. Everything, you can make it adaptable to you. You're the expert in how to adapt it to you. You can express what you need of that person to make it more accessible for you. So that'd be my first thing. But also, just, it sounds really cheesy, but don't give up. You know, don't let someone say you can't go and do it, because you can. You can go and do it. You can go and achieve whatever you want to achieve. You can go and enjoy life, because, you know, me and my wife are testament to that. Like, we do everything. We do everything together. She's my eyes, I'm her legs, and, you know, she gets me everywhere. She hears for me, she sees for me. I can get her up mountains, I can get her up reefs, I can get wherever she wants to get me up, get her up to places. I can do that. And I think you've just got to be persistent, be resilient, and just try and enjoy every moment, because you don't know when this time on this earth stops. And you just got to try and go and live the best version of your life and enjoy it. And that's the other thing, enjoyment. Enjoy what you do, enjoy what we do, and just go and love the world.
Chris, thank you very, very much. Happy Christmas and
Happy
New Year. I will see you soon. And thank you, everyone. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode of Real PR with Chris. And I will have Chris back on again, probably in a year or so, because we'll have more stories to tell. But happy Christmas to you all. Thank you so much for your support. And I will see you on the other side when it's 2025. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.